Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the real United States. I'm your host Paul Campbell, and as always behind the camera is our camera operator and my wife Beverly Campbell. Welcome to downtown Washington, D.C. We're here on the edge of Massachusetts Avenue in front of Union Station. Now I wanted to do this episode because in the United States there are in fact 25 Union stations. And you may have wondered why there are so many rail stations called Union Station. Here in the United States, Union stations are typically stations which are owned by a private corporation, and then the shares of that corporation are sold to the rail companies that service that station. So a Union station is typically a railhead or an intersection between multiple railway companies. And here in DC, Union Station is actually served by Amtrak, the VRE, the Virginia Railway Express. Let me try that again, the Virginia Railway Express. The MARC train, which services Maryland. And of course, the Washington Metro Area Transit Authority, or WMATA, and the local WMATA bus station. So this is the hub for people coming into and leaving the city or traveling across the city by way of rail or bus. Now this building was built here in 1907 originally. It's undergone many revisions and alterations over the years. It is a massive structure, and what you're looking at behind me is actually called the head house. A head house is a structure which does not actually house the rails. Now in this case, the rails for the local Metro Transit Authority are downstairs in the basement, part of the subway system, and the service rails, such as VRE and MARC, are actually on the other side of the building. Now you'll notice that there are 6 massive statues up here, and kind of an interesting story. I won't go into it all, but this is an iconic representation of the progress of railroading. And these figures represent, some of them, for example, are Apollo, Prometheus, Archimedes. That's half of them that I remembered. It is just a massive, massive stone building. Now inside there's a variety of things. Of course, there are the terminals and the ticket stations for the various rail lines. There's also a series of shops. We're going to take you inside in a minute and show you around. In front of the station, right behind me, is the Columbus Fountain. Obviously, Christopher Columbus, a very important figure here in the United States, regardless of your opinion about whether he discovered America or not, and I won't get into that. He is a very important historical figure here in the United States and played a huge role in the very early developmental stages of our country. So this is a monument to Christopher Columbus, and it's unfortunate that we're shooting this late in the year, so the fountain isn't running, but it is a gigantic fountain. It's probably somewhere on the area of 60 feet across or so, maybe more, I don't know. I'm not great at judging distances always. Beautiful brick walkways in this kind of semicircular area around the station. Just in front of me is the United States Capitol building, right straight down the street. And so this is a huge, huge hub here in Washington, D.C. Now I am of the understanding that somewhere between 32 million and 40 million people per year pass through Union Station in Washington, D.C. And as I said, there are 25 Union stations across the United States. There are similar sorts of stations in other parts of the world, I understand. They go by different names and they may have different sorts of business structures, but it is a common thing around the world to have an intersection where multiple railways come together. So now again, we're going to take you inside. We're going to show you there's a food court in there, there's shops in there, beautiful architecture, and hopefully you're going to enjoy your trip to downtown DC and the Union Station. Okay, we're getting ready to go into the main entrance, the front of Union Station. This is on the south side of the building, which is fortunate for us because it gives us good light. And I just wanted to take a moment to tell you that there is absolutely nothing about this place that is small. It is a massive structure, huge doors, and we're going to pan up and we're going to show you that above the doors, across the top, are a series of statues of centurions They're probably, I don't know, 1.5 or 2 times life size, and guarding the doors. Statues everywhere in this place, and more granite and marble than you can possibly imagine. Stone archways all along here, and just a massive entranceway for the amount of traffic that comes in and out through Union Station. Okay, now come on in for a moment, and we're going to just show some of these archways. The main archway that Bev's walking in through right now is about 35 feet wide, probably nigh on to 50 or 55 feet tall. Huge decorations, the big wreaths here hung for the Christmas holiday that just passed. We're going to pan down here and we're going to show you this archway with all the Christmas decorations hanging from the lamps, and just how much stonework. Very, very elaborate, very old world looking. Can you pan up, Bev, and give them a shot of the ceiling with the main light fixture in it, the big dome structure? And there's multiple domes in this portico here. There's 3 of them. I'm not sure that the camera can necessarily do it justice because it is such a massive structure. It makes you feel a bit like a miniature of a person when you're in here. Just everything about the place, huge. Big transoms over the doors all here, and a lot of very ornate details both in the stone and the woodwork here. So let's go ahead and walk in to the front of Union Station. Now there's some construction going on in here. They're doing some refurbishment of the station right now. So it's a little tough to really film in here well, but this is certainly a normal part of real life where you do reconstruction, refurbishment from time to time. And here in the head house, you'll see some of the shops and the beautiful woodwork. And we'll try and get some shots of it too. There are Centurion statues on the inside of this as well. So again, this is a rail station. And you can see here is the arrival and departure times of some of the trains that are coming in and out. I believe these are probably the Amtrak departures and arrivals. Amtrak, of course, having the furthest reach of the rail lines that come into Union Station. Again, you can see off in the distance, over the archway that leads into the other part of the head house, the Centurions statues over the top of the archway. Maybe that'll give you some idea of the magnitude and the scale of what it's like here in Union Station. Now, one of the things that I wanted to point out to you here in Union Station is that, from what I've read, the ceiling of this arch in the main hall of Union Station is 95 feet above the floor. There's absolutely no way without specialized equipment, I suppose, that I could really give you a feel for the airiness of this place and just how huge it is. And I think probably one of the most interesting things is I'm out here in the middle of the floor, waving my arms, and essentially nobody is paying any attention to me whatsoever. I don't know if that just means I'm a boring individual or whether it's just people are so desensitized to cameras here in the United States. But again, this is just a huge area. And it's unfortunate that they are doing this reconstruction right now because this is hiding some of the beautiful architecture in here. But again, I think we can get enough of it to show you just what it's like here at Union Station. Again, all marble floors, polished marble in 2 colors, to give it a nice decoration. Massive amount of stone here. Now, as I've said repeatedly, this is a massive structure, and you can see that there is actually an entire shopping mall inside of the head house here at Union Station. A lot of relatively high-end or expensive shops here. There's a Swarovski jeweler here, a Nine West, the body shop, a chocolatier. A lot of very high-end, expensive, nice shops here. Largely these cater to vacationers, travelers coming in and out of the station who want to buy gifts or nice things as they pass through at the last minute. So as we pan around though, just on the other side of where Beverly's standing is the actual ticket counters for the Amtrak. So when you're coming into the station, you're getting ready to leave the city, this is actually where you would come to get your tickets in order to be travel out of Union Station on the Amtrak. Now again, this is the ticket booths are still here. Come on down a little bit, Bev. You see they've got a board here for departures and arrivals. Not just the Amtrak, but also the MARC train that services Maryland. And it looks very much like what you probably experienced at an airport terminal, where you go to buy your tickets, check your baggage, things like that. Again, this is not where the rail line is. This is part of the head house. So along with the shops, the restaurants, which are downstairs, we're going to take you down there in just a little bit, is the ticket booths. Now, I'm going to walk in too tight of a shot probably, and we're going to turn, and this is the hallway then that leads to the actual departure and arrival gates for the rail lines. And we can walk down there. One of the things that is absolutely ubiquitous here in the United States, at least now, is Starbucks. It is almost impossible to travel anywhere in the United States unless it's a very small rural community and not encounter a Starbucks. So if you're leaving or coming in, you want to get a cup of joe, that's where you go. And no, folks, Starbucks didn't pay me anything for that little plug. Again, everything's still massive and ornate. The bronze, I believe, archway, I think that's bronze, it's some sort of metal material, and in front of the terminal gates. And this is where, like I say, between 32 and 40 million people a year pass through this station using the rail line. And again, I said this is not a terribly busy day, and you can see there's an enormous number of people passing in and out during this holiday season. Obviously, just before or just after a holiday tomorrow, which would be Sunday, and it'd be the end of the Christmas break, a lot of people, this place should be absolutely shoulder to shoulder. They've done a nice job about glassing in the ceilings, a lot of arched metal work with glass at the top to give this a more airy and light feel. Certainly very nice in the daylight. It's actually kind of pretty at night too. You can sometimes, if you get just right, you can see the stars in a clear night, and it's just got this very nice, airy, open feel about it. Now again, as you can see, there are shops. We are, after all, a highly capitalist nation, and there are shops all the way down here. Probably, I don't know, a couple of 100 yards in each direction. There's even a McDonald's down at the far end, believe it or not. So not everything is super high end here. And I'm getting a little overwhelmed, folks, so just bear with me. I'm going to try not to get run over or run anybody over as I'm doing this. Again, just like a airport, you're going to see that there's a news store here. Sells magazines, newspapers, books, a few food items, but largely for news items, reading material for people as they're traveling. Very, very common at any kind of a terminal here in the United States, certainly an airport terminal, a rail terminal, anything like that. Not so much maybe at cruise terminals, but certainly in those places where you're just traveling and not actually going on an adventure like you would on a cruise, you're going to find a news store that sells a few souvenirs, a couple of things to eat, and a lot of books and magazines. So now, I think Bev and I are going to go and have some lunch, and we're going to take y'all along with us for that adventure as well.
Yay, lunch.
Bev does like lunch. Who doesn't like lunch? Now, the food court, although there are many restaurants up here, this is predominantly shops. The food court is downstairs, and we're going to show you there's some beautiful curved staircases that go down there. So we'll take you over there now. Okay, so we're getting ready to go downstairs. We wanted to show you these beautiful wood and iron curved circular stairways that go both downstairs to the food court and upstairs to the mezzanine level, where there are yet more shops and more cafes. Hopefully you're getting an idea of just how big this facility is. It's sort of like a mall and an airport and everything, I don't know, all rolled into one. It's just a huge terminal. And there are, of course, escalators for those who don't necessarily want to climb stairs. The stairs, I'd like to point out, are the treads here, made of these like 2-inch thick solid slabs of polished marble. It's a predominantly pink and marble with some white modeling in it. I can't imagine what it cost to build this initially or what the replacement value would be. It has got to be, I don't know, tens of millions of dollars that are invested in this facility. So obviously the corporations, the train corporations that have bought shares in the corporation that owns this itself have made a huge investment in the future of operations here. And again, just so many little details, solid brass handrails, the iron stiles in the solid wood railings, the floor up here where I'm standing, again, pink and white marble on the edge, and then a charcoal gray and white marble in the center of the floor. They've done this in a couple of different semicircular kind of patterns, reminiscent of the semicircular exterior of the building. I think they tried to carry that motif through the building. And on the far side, across this opening, where it's 3 stories high, these massive stone columns that hold up the archways where you pass in and out of this part of the building. I guess it's nice that we came here during the Christmas season so you could take in some of the decorations that are common in public spaces, in shops and malls and things here in the United States, although we have done some of that in previous years around Christmas time in other parts of the country. But in this particular case, since we're in a new location, it is nice to see some of the decorations, not as multicolored as what we saw in Florida or even in Michigan, a very demure with the greens and the golds, but very, very classy. Here you can see up these beautiful curved staircases, all the marble steps. But in an endeavor to keep the camera motion as steady as possible as we go down to the food court, I'm going to attempt to do this from the escalator. And you can see us coming down into the lower level. Now this is actually below ground level into the food court of Union Station. See, it's quite bright down here, very light colors, a lot of bright colors in the decorations. Now you'll notice there's not a lot of people down here today. Now one of the things that I haven't mentioned is that this actually is one of the stops that I make several times a week, at least a couple of times a week, when I come down for lunch. I work not terribly far from here, a couple of stops up the line. And this is where my colleagues and I come to have lunch once or twice a week. For what it's worth, some of my favorite spots. Bolo Bite. They have a really nice hamburger here. Crepe Lena. These are really good. Interestingly enough, Cajun Grill serves Asian food and not Cajun food, but really good. Another one of my favorites. And you can see that it just goes on and on and on down the line. And folks, you are stuck with the rather unfortunate circumstance that because my legs are a little longer, I have taken the camera from Beverly. And over here, other side, more restaurants. Plenty of communal seating here in the main concourse, if you will. Another one of my colleagues favors this place. Eaten here is very nice, very good. Johnny Rockets, hamburgers and Philly cheesesteaks, and it's decorated very much in the style of a 1950s diner. Now, for those of you who follow Real Russia as well as the Real United States, you'll know that Sergei Baklikov over there has done an episode on Pretty Betty, a 50s style diner there in Bashkortostan. Well, Sergei, we do in fact have 50s style diners here in the United States as well, and Johnny Rockets obviously one of the more popular ones. And there are kiosks here as well, not shops in their own right, but kiosks selling various things, phone covers and t-shirts and jewelry and those sorts of things. All right, we're gonna stop, get a bite to eat, and we'll be back with you shortly. Okay, folks, I've made my decision. I'm gonna get some Asian food here. Hi, how you doing? I'm gonna have the lemon chicken today. For here. Can I get the noodles? I would like the mixed vegetables. I would like 2 of the egg rolls. Thank you.
Any drinks, sir?
Not today, thank you.
10:40.
Yep. Can I get 2 of those, the soy sauce? Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Get myself some silverware here so I can eat with something other than my hands. Thank you very much, dear. And thank you. And there, it's just that easy. We have lemon chicken with what appears to be udon noodles and mixed vegetables. So now I'm going to try and park myself so that Beverly can get hers. So she's going to hand me the camera, and I think that Miss Beverly is going to get a crepe. Yes, folks, I have burdened her with the backpack for all of our equipment. So I see I've neglected to zip up. Bev's still trying to decide what she wants. Bev doesn't get here as often as I do. But she's promised herself that she was going to have a crepe next time she came here. So we'll see what she ends up with. What you gonna do, dear?
I'm gonna get a crepe with ham, turkey, tomatoes, mushrooms, and cheese.
Okay. Now they make the crepes right on site here. See, our cook is pouring out the dough for the crepe. He's got a little tool there to go ahead and spread it out on the crepe pan. Only takes a few seconds. I've got my back turned to my food. I hope nobody's stealing it or poisoning me. Now, while tourists frequently probably take pictures here. These folks actually know me, so they know I'm not a tourist. They're wondering why the hell I'm filming. Not today, but thank you. Next time. You know I'm down here on during the week when I come down with my colleagues for lunch. I recommended you. I told her you got to try this. It's excellent. Pardon me. So we'd like to thank you for joining us here on the Real United States on our trip to Union Station in downtown Washington, D.C. I hope you enjoyed this. There's probably 100 more little shops and nooks and crannies that we could go in, but they're all largely going to be the same sort of thing. If you haven't already, we encourage you to pick subscribe and join us for future episodes as we take you around to all the places here in the United States. If you have questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below. I love hearing from all of you. And as always, thank you for watching.